Hello, fictional. Welcome to the Fiction Series X. Today we are gonna see, what if Issei become a pure-blood devil? If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. Issei Hyoudou was born into the royal and famous Hayato clan. It was known as one of the pillar families and was very powerful. His father, Issei Hyoudou, was a descendant of Lucifer, making him a very powerful devil and not to be messed with. His mother, Autumn Hayato, had died while giving birth to Issei, making his father fall into depression for many years. Other than himself and his father, there was really no one else alive from the Hayato clan except his uncle, Heir Hayato. But no one had seen him for years after he allegedly killed his own family for unknown reasons. Whatever the case, Issei and his father lived a great life. Until one faithful day. Skip 13 years after Issei being born. Come on Issei. You're gonna be late. Said Issei's father as he came out of a black circle, waiting patiently. A few seconds later a smaller black circle appeared, revealing a 10-year-old Issei with a backpack on. Give a break. It's the first day of school and you're already pressuring me. Said Issei as he caught up with his father, who was already walking up the steps to the devil school Issei had been enrolled to. First impressions do count, you know, said Akane as he led Issei to his class where the teacher stood outside waiting for all the students to come in. Besides, it will be fun. You will learn all about the evil pieces and the history of devils. Along with some other stuff I forgot, said Akane, mumbling the last part. Ha. You don't remember anything about school, do you? Issei said with a smirk. Just go to your class, Issei was the only response his father gave, walking away with a smile on his face as he said goodbye. He has grown so much. He will make a great heir to the Hayato family one day, thought Issei's father as he walked away. Skip 1 year. It's not fair. Yelled Issei, now a 14-year-old boy, at his father as he was held down by some of the school staff members, with his father standing in front of him. You must understand, Issei. Your powers are too great for someone your age, you almost destroyed the school. Replied his father in a serious tone, only to have Issei glare at him. Those kids had it in for them. They've been bullying me ever since I got here. Was Issei's only response as he continued to struggle, even though he knew it was futile. As strong as he was, there was no way he could stand against 5 full-grown devils, and he knew it. So he decided to slump in defeat. That's more like it. Now, don't worry, this sealing spell will only seal about half your power, so you should still be able to keep your position as a top student at our school, Issei. Replied one of his teachers with a smile. Half of my power, Issei yelled as he struggled once more, only to see his father finally reach his limit. Enough. Yelled Akane, releasing a small portion of his power, but even this was enough to cause everyone else in the room to stagger a bit before regaining balance. This is for your own good, Issei, as well as everybody else's. Said his father in a now menacing voice, causing the boy to shudder in fear and retreat a little bit back. Now I will commence the sealing spell. Was the only response his father gave as he began conjuring up a ball of power in his hand. Why? Was Issei's only thought as he saw the ball come at him. Skip 3 days. The last few days had been a pain in the ass for Issei. He had a large amount of his power taken away, lowering his self-esteem by a lot. This was only the first part of the bad news, however, as word of Issei's loss of power spread around the school like a wildfire. Hey, isn't that the kid that got most of his power sealed off? Yeah. What a loser. He'll be easy pickings in sparring now. I kinda feel bad for him not. It was constant torture for Issei, as his power was his pride. After all, he was a Hyoudou, one of the 72 pillars. This didn't stop other students to make fun of him, as much as he wished for it. He knew there was no way he was going to get his power back, not if he trained hard enough to be able to handle the power. That's it, Issei thought. All he needed to do was get stronger in all ways possible. Then his father would see that he could handle all of his strength. Hell yeah. I'm going to become so strong I will be able to defeat anybody just by punching them. With these words, Issei began his intense training which he would undergo every day until he graduated from the academy. 3 years later. Time had done wonders for Issei Hyoudou. He was now practically a full-grown man, boasting an 8-pack and standing at a good 5 feet 6 inches. He had kept to his promise that every day he would train hard and it paid off. He now had more than double the power he used to have, and his father had not even taken off the seal he placed on him 3 years ago. Obviously, not wanting another seal placed on him, Issei kept his power levels at a powerful amount, but not enough for his father to think it was too much. This did not do much in terms of gaining friends, however. Almost all of the male population of the school hated him for his looks, strengthening the efforts in lowering his self-esteem. This only worked to a degree, however. Who wouldn't fall under the hate? But he knew he was better than them, so he managed. But it was quite the opposite when it came to women. Everywhere he went he would have a small group of female students following him around and staring at him as much as possible. His shy personality only made them fall harder for him, as he never did pick somebody to be his lover. This however, made the girls try harder, believing they were the soulmate of Issei. Issei, I love you. Issei, go out with me. Take my virginity. Make me yours, Issei. The attention was nice, but he always thought, is that all they like me for? Looks? What about being smart? He kind of knew he was asking for a lot, but was he really? If they could see past all of that, they would see how nice and caring he was, not only shy and mysterious. But what could he do? It was the last day before their graduation, and that didn't leave a lot of time for getting to know each other. Alright class. The day before the big day. Please remember to come in your finest clothing. This is a very special occasion, of course. Said Issei's history teacher as the class only nodded in anticipation. I can't wait to show off my dress tomorrow. I hope Issei notices me. Me too. I have the perfect one picked out. Issei only chuckled quietly at the remark some of the girls made. They were really trying hard, yet they didn't know that he wasn't planning on love for some time, not until he was at least 20 or around that age. 1 hour later, Issei appeared into his room through a huge black circle, looking around. His room was huge, having a place for him to read, chill and of course sleep. He sighed and looked around his closet, finding the perfect suit to wear tomorrow. He smiled, thinking about how the girls would react, seeing him wearing it. Then he walked out of the room into the halls of his huge home. He chuckled, knowing this was one of the smaller houses his father owned, albeit huge. He remembered when his father took him to the underworld for the first time. It was jaw-dropping, seeing a house the size of his school. His father had only chuckled at his reaction. Pretty big, huh? Was the answer Akane gave to his shocked son, who immediately recovered. Yeah, was the only response he gave, still having a little of an after effect. That was a few years ago, and Issei had only visited a couple of times since then. His father was very busy most of the time, only being able to attend important events. Issei's graduation was one of them. Knocking lightly on the door, Issei heard his father moving around in his room before opening the door. "Dad, are you ready for tomorrow?" asked Issei with a happy smile on his face, seeing his father wearing one of his best suits. "Of course I am. I couldn't miss it for the world," said Issei's father with an excited face. "Okay. I'll be waiting for you to arrive at school, okay?" "No problem." Issei walked away and smiled. He was happy that he would finally become a true adult. Tomorrow was going to be a big day. Issei had just arrived to the location the graduation was to be done at. It was a large park in the human world, with tables set everywhere and food lined up as far as the eye could see. Issei was the first to arrive, along with his father. Issei was wearing a suit with dark blue pants, a dark blue jacket and a red tie, along with a red handkerchief in the pocket of the jacket. He had picked this specific suit because he thought red and blue went well together. Akane, Issei's father, wore the exact same thing, telling Issei they would look cool together if they wore the same thing. Reluctantly, Issei agreed, thinking if he went along with everything his father said he would maybe take off the power seal. 1 hour later. By now, all of the senior years in Issei's school had arrived. As expected, many of the girls came up to him, asking what he thought of their dress. He simply smiled and said beautiful to all of them. He thought that if he were to have to fabricate a different response for each girl it would take a long time, so he simply did the same thing over and over again. Of course, many boys were at the gathering as well. Whenever they got the chance, they would say something behind his back, but a quick look from Issei's father shut them up quick. "Damn, when is this going to start?" was Issei's only thought as he stared for what felt like an eternity at the podium where the teachers would announce their names, getting more and more impatient by the second. And if you looked closely enough, you could see a small black aura surrounding him. But it soon went away as he felt a hand softly tap on his shoulder. It was his father, who had noticed the aura surrounding Issei. "Patience is key, Issei. Look, they're about to start." "Okay, Dad." Turning his attention back to the podium, Issei saw the teachers beginning the assembly. He mentally sighed in relief, hoping it would go fast so he could get back home. 30 minutes later. "And finally, we now have reached a very special student. Please give a warm round of applause for Issei Hyoudou." Issei immediately sat up, looking around until he noticed one of the teachers beckoning him to come up to the podium. He slowly got up and walked towards the podium when he heard the girls talking. "Wow. He's so hot." "Totally. He looks so good in that suit." Issei only silently chuckled. He ignored the girls but was surprised to hear nothing coming from the boys now. Their parents probably told them to shut the hell up, Issei thought, laughing in his head. By now, though, he had reached the podium so he stood silently. "Now, we would like to congratulate Issei for all the achievements he has made. He was the top scorer out of all of our students this year, and possibly even the best scores out of anyone who has attended this school. He has also received a position as SHU president, and many of us are sad to see him go. Hopefully we can find someone who will do just as good of a job as Issei." The last part got a chuckle out of all the parents and even Issei. "How you wish. I'm the best. Anyway, congratulations Issei Hyoudou for graduating high school. Do you have anything to say?" "Yes, in fact, I do. Thank you all for such a memorable time with you all. Was the only thing Issei said, with a smile on his face. This got some lustful looks from the girls, but he ignored them. 10 minutes later. Issei found himself back at his home, along with his father. After the ceremony ended, there wasn't much to do at the party so he left. Issei's home. Yo dad. Where are you? Silence. Nothing could be heard throughout the house. Issei found this strange, but decided on the thought his father had already gone to bed. Until he heard it. The explosion followed by a scream of pain in his father's room. He ran towards the room, thinking about all the possibilities. Could his father be in danger? The Kane's room. Bursting through the room, Issei found his father on the floor, bleeding and the room a huge mess. Damn it, what happened? Was all Issei could say as he stared at his father, horrified at the sight of his dad bleeding from a wound in his stomach. Your cough Uncle Phoenix tear vial in cabinet. Issei couldn't believe it. His uncle was still alive. The damn bastard had killed his family out of unknown reasons now he was back. But Issei pushed these thoughts out of his head as he went to the cabinet by his father's desk and grabbed the Phoenix tear vial. He then opened it and poured it all over the wound. But it didn't heal. Cough guessed the bastard hellfire. Well kid, I guess this is it. Issei just stared in disbelief. Phoenix tears were supposed to heal any injury except hellfire. Nothing could heal hellfire. It was just too damn powerful. Tears started to form around his eyes as he stared into his father's eyes. He was the only family he ever had. And now he was going to die. Hey Issei, I'm not dead yet, I have to tell you some secrets. Your mother died because you were too powerful for her to handle. Your uncle killed his family because he grew jealous of your power and went insane. Issei could only stare wide-eyed at his father. His power was the cause of his mother's death. His uncle was jealous of the power he held. Oh yeah, before I forget, let me take off the power seal. With those words, a cane took of the power seal he had put on Issei long ago. Suddenly, Issei felt a rush of strength as he was refilled with his old power. But it felt a lot more stable, seeing as he had trained a lot and could now handle it. Bittersweet. He regained his power at the loss of his father. Issei just smiled sadly at his father who started closing his eyes slowly. Issei. My Issei led a good life, have children, be happy, goodbye. With that said, a cane closed his eyes, leaving Issei alone in the room. Uncle. I will kill you. You took the only person I ever loved. I will never forgive you and will destroy you, even if it means I will have to abandon my father's wishes. I will kill you. Boom. But those words said, Issei's aura suddenly exploded, making a shockwave that was felt in the human world, as well as the underworld in heaven. Surzich's office. Boom. Surzic suddenly felt a huge shockwave of power. He was knocked out of his seat and thrown against the wall. What the hell was that? Was the thought coursing through his brain as he tried processing what just happened. He then heard his door open to see his wife and queen, Grafia. Surzic. What was that? Her usually calm demeanor was replaced with one of fear and worry. I don't know, it sure is powerful though. Alert all of our allies and see if they have felt it as well. This power, I think it surpasses even mine. Human world. Azazel, the current leader of the fallen angels, was currently enjoying a cup of sake when he was blasted back into one of his cabinets, which proceeded to fall on him, earning a groan of pain from the fallen angel. Motherfucker, what was that power? The man thought as he stood up from the mess the shockwave created. Azazel. Did you feel that? Hell yes, I did. Whoever made that shockwave must be pretty strong. Rainer, one of Azazel's fallen angels, had just walked in to ask if her leader had felt the power. I'll report this to everyone. Is that okay, Azazel? Yes, go ahead. With that, Rainer walked out of the room. Whoever made that shockwave must be pretty damn strong. Heaven. Michael had just received a report from one of his angels when he felt a massive shockwave of power and was sent flying into his sister Gabriel. Wow. That power is tremendous. Did you feel it, Gabriel? To answer your question. Yes. Now get off me, please. Oops. Sorry. Getting up from his sister, Michael thought for a second but then decided to tell his sister that they should contact all of their allies. They both agreed, with Gabriel flying off and Michael staying where he was. Whoever made that shockwave must have enough power to destroy the earth. We must find this being immediately. The whole supernatural world had felt it, the wrath of a very powerful being. Hide humane residence, human world. Sadness. It was all Issei felt at the moment. His damned uncle had killed his father with one of the most powerful substances in the world. This would just mean killing him would be a lot harder. Wow, partner. With power like that, you are most certainly my most powerful host. What the hell? Your host is as much as mine as he is yours. Wait, is that you, Albion? Holy crap. Issei looked around in confusion as he heard two voices talking to each other, apparently fighting over who was his host. We're inside of you, boy. Yeah, my name's Albion and the other voice is Drag. And you are one lucky son of a gun. Having both Drag and me inside one host is unheard of. Wait, so you two are the heavenly dragons? Yes, yep. Issei could only stand still in disbelief. He had both the boosted gear and divine dividing inside him. He soaked in his self-admiration for a bit before remembering the dilemma he was in. His father had just died, and he was pretty sure he had alerted the supernatural world of his existence. The Hyoudou family was thought to be extinct after the Great War, and his father liked it that way. He was always a man of peace and quiet. So it appears your father is dead. Well, that must suck. Sorry, but we will fight through this together, boy. Your tale will be told of how you used the boosted gear and divine dividing. Mostly the boosted gear, since taking your enemy's power is a cowardly move. Shut up, fool. All of your wielders have died pitiful lives or at the hands of mine. How about you both shut up? If we want our tales to be told, we must all work together for this to work. I don't think that you two bitching about each other is going to help. He's actually right, Albion. We must put aside our differences for glory. Alright then. Truce. Now relieved that he wouldn't have to hear the two dragons bicker, Issei sat against a wall, contemplating his options when he suddenly heard a familiar screech and looked over to his father's body to see it gone. He looked around in confusion once more, but saw that no one was there. He also had noticed that there was a sort of shadow being where his father was, but it disappeared as soon as it had come. Holy shit. You're a Hyoudou? Was that a shadow beast? Well then, Drag, it appears that the Hayato family is not extinct and that we here probably have the single most powerful being in this world as our host. What are you talking about? What was that thing? Albion, you do the history lesson. I'm going to sleep. Very well. Oh wait, I don't know your name yet, child. May I know what it is? It's Issei. Issei Hyoudou. So you are a Hyoudou, eh? Well, let me tell you about your family. Your grandfather, Lorna's Hyoudou, was a very famous pure-blood devil. He fought in the Great War and unfortunately died, which is why you didn't meet him. That left your father and uncle, of course. But I guess you already know this part of the story, right? Yeah. Well then. Let me tell you about your family's powers. The Berserker mode, which you went into for a brief second there, is a more well-known ability. It basically gives you limitless power for a brief moment and makes you virtually invincible. The other ability is Shadow Walk. You basically can move around through shadows. It is most powerful at night, of course. Finally, we have the Shadow Beast. It was that thing we saw where your father was. Only a few in your family ever had one. It is like a familiar you are born with. But it has two weaknesses. It can only be unlocked or unsealed at a certain point in someone's life, and if you have one you can't get another familiar. But why would you? This thing is crazy powerful. Even though it has shadow in its name, that doesn't mean it's only able to walk through shadows, like Shadow Walk. It can move around freely. Yeah, it looks scary, but it's really nice towards its friends. Issei took some time in processing the information. His family was crazy powerful, and if he had a shadow beast, he would be even more powerful. Just remembered. Your father and uncle didn't have a shadow beast. Guess that means it was your shadow beast, kid. To say Issei was happy was an understatement. He was thrilled that he had a very rare ability and that it was really powerful. All that was left was his future. Issei had just woken up from a long sleep in his room when he decided to go turn on the TV and see what was going on in the underworld. He then looked in surprise as he noticed that his power surge from yesterday was on the news, saying that it had caused an uproar in the public and they demanded answers on whether or not it was a danger to them. He then noticed it cut to a man with red hair talking about how he and other high-ranking devils were trying to find the source of the mysterious demonic power. We are trying our best to find this person and will try to inform you all as soon as possible. There is no need for alarm as nothing has followed the event. Issei only chuckled but soon realized this was going to be a problem. He didn't know if he should still keep his identity a secret or if he should come out to the world. But he decided shortly after that he would keep his identity a secret and that he would find a way to reveal himself in the most dramatic way possible. Haha, yes. It will be amazing. Indeed, boy. Your name will be remembered for years. And we, your trusty partners, will also be even more famous. Issei then groaned as he remembered about the two dragons in him. They, albeit useful, were a pain in the ass and he had only known them for a day. Hey Drag, where's Albion? Sleeping, of course. He was up all night formulating your training plan. What training plan? The one that will help you increase in power, of course. Issei groaned once more and got up. He knew it was going to be a long and tiring day as he walked over to the gym in his house. He then remembered about the red-haired man talking and decided to put a spell on himself which would hide his power. He had learned it from his father, who was an expert in spells. But as he kept walking, he saw a black circle appear on the ground and saw the thing from yesterday come out of it. Hello Issei. I've been watching you for a long time. I am your shadow beast. You can call me Asmodon. Issei stared in shock and a bit of fear. The shadow beast looked a lot like a human, but it was made of a sort of black mist and had red eyes and had a voice almost identical to his. Does my appearance scare you? Well then, I will change it. Shortly after saying that, the creature morphed and changed to look exactly like Issei, but with the exception of having red eyes. Okay then, Asmodin. I'm going to go train in the gym. You can come if you want. Alright then. I shall join you. Responded Asmodin with a warm smile. And with that, began a friendship which could never be broken. 3 years later, yes, another time skip. Issei and Asmodin looked at the huge building in front of their eyes. It was called Kuo Academy, and they decided after a couple of years of playing around and training, they would enroll at a human school to see what it was like. It was mostly for fun though, as they both were very smart and athletic. Alright then, Asmon. We are here as students from another part of Japan and were sent here by our parents because they heard that this school was very well funded. We are twin brothers and you inherited your red eyes from our father and I brown eyes from our mother. Very well, Issei. We're gonna have a lot of fun. I just know it. Yeah. Me too. Inside Kuo Academy. Oh my god. Are they new? Yeah, I think so. They're so hot. They look like twins. Issei only chuckled as they passed a large group of girls who stared with wide eyes at them. Issei was already used to this, but to Asmodin it was a whole new thing. He looked around nervously and only smiled and waved. Issei. You never told me this was going to happen. Asmodin whispered in Issei's ear furiously as he then saw the boys start giving them hateful looks. They however, stayed silent and only stared. Get used to it, dude. I plan on staying for at least a year, so you better put your big boy pants on and deal with it. To that comment, Asmo only gave an angry look at Issei, but composed himself and kept waking. Inside classroom. Alright class. Please give a warm welcome to our newest students, Issei and Asmodin Hyoudou. Hello everybody. My name is Issei and this is my twin brother, Asmodin. We hope we can all be friends. After school, to say Issei and Asmo were bored was an understatement. They thought coming to a human school would be fun, but it was quite the opposite. Issei, already having learned about the supernatural, was having second thoughts about coming to a human school. He could not back out now, however, as he had made a deal with Asmodin, stating that whoever stayed in school the longest would get first dibs on anything they wanted. No exceptions. Issei, I admit defeat. School is boring. Besides, I am supposed to be a ruthless killing machine, and I do not think learning human things will help me at all with that. Issei stared at surprise at his counterpart. He expected him to last a week or more, but a day. That was ridiculous and embarrassing. Wow. You must really hate school, huh? I don't blame you. Guess that means I win. But I will stay, as much as it is boring. I think I sense some form of demonic power in there. It would be nice to finally meet other devils. Issei responded with a victorious smirk on his face. Yes. Please make sure you get the paperwork signed so I don't have to go anymore. Shortly after saying that, Asmodin disappeared in a cloud of black smoke and drifted off into the shadows. Issei walked back to his home and drifted off into thoughts. He did not know how he would deal with the devils in the school and if they had sensed his demonic power. He had done a good job of hiding from the supernatural for a long time, but he did not know how he would deal with them if they knew what he was, and it would be even worse if they knew one of the pillar families was still actually alive. He was taken out of his thoughts, however, when he saw a girl walk up to him and stop. Excuse me, are you Issei Hyoudou? She asked shyly. Issei responded with a simple yes. And just stared at the girl in front of him. My name is Yuma. Are you going out with anyone right now? No. Well then, would you like to be my boyfriend? Issei was stunned and surprised at the question he was just asked. Sure, girls liked him back at his old school, but none had the courage to ask him out. So he did what no one his age would do. He said no. Then walked away like nothing happened. Sure, the girl was pretty, but he did not think the best way to hook up was to ask someone to be your boyfriend the first minute you meet them. It was also kind of weird. Wait. Please reconsider. I love you. At that remark, Issei just started running away from the girl at a very fast rate. He did not know who this girl was and did not want to find out. He then ran into an alley and disappeared into the shadows, baffling the disguised fallen angel. Hyoudou Manor. Issei walked out of a shadow at his home and sighed in relief. He was, to be honest, a bit startled at how some random girl had approached and asked him out on a date. He then walked into the kitchen to see Asmodin cooking something that smelled very delicious. Wow, look at the killing machine terrorize those vegetables, dude. Issei said, following it with a fit of laughter. Shut up, Issei. It should be ready in a few minutes. Alright. The cult research club room. Ria's Gremory stared outside onto the dark and quiet Kuo Academy. She had noticed a boy and his supposed twin come into the school as transfers, but there was something about them that she could not put her finger on. She could tell they were special, but did not know in what way. She decided that she would send her knight Kiba to bring them to her tomro. Looking out at the rising sun, Issei sighed. He felt empty. Like he needed something that was essential to him. He looked back at the time he spent with his father and smiled sadly. He missed him dearly, yet he knew he would probably never see him again. Then there was friends. Issei was cool back at his old school, but nobody ever approached him to ask him to go to the movies or something. He remembered when he was walking by after buying some groceries and saw some of his classmates laughing and having fun. He never got to experience that, and he yearned for it. But after that faithful night, he got Asmodin as a friend. And as much of a good friend he was, Issei knew he could never really be friends with him. Asmodin was a force of destruction and death. He was not meant for kind emotions, yet he had them. Sighing once more, Issei went back to his room and got dressed for the upcoming school day, which he dreaded as much as the next person. 20 minutes later. Walking into the hall of his school, Issei noticed a crimson-haired girl at the top of the stairs. As she stood there, everyone stopped what they were doing to admire her beauty. He remembered hearing that her name was Ria's Gremory. Girls yearned to look like her, and boys wished to screw her, apparently. But then, something surprised him. She stared at him. It was the kind of stare you would give toward someone who interested you. Shaking the thought off, Issei walked at a faster pace towards the office to tell them of his brother going back to their hometown. Issei's classroom. Boredom. All he could feel was boredom. The teachers would drone on, and Issei grew more and more tired with each passing minute. Then he had to deal with all the paperwork on Asmodin. The only relief he held was that it would be all over in a couple of hours. Tell me, what is the square root of 28? You seem to be paying a lot of attention. Please, enlighten us. Student snickered. The teacher just smirked. Issei just stared. Alright then. I'll answer the question. However, if I get the answer right, I don't get homework for a month. Deal? With a confident smile, the teacher answered with a sure. And just stood there, waiting. The square root of 28 is 5. 291, give or take. The teacher smiled, got a calculator, and typed in the question. Then frowned. The square root of 28 is. 5. 29,150,262,213. Silence. No one dare speak, for they had judged wrongly, and now the person judged would get no math homework for a month. I believe that means you must hold up your end of the bargain, yes. No math homework for a month. Issei said, breaking the silence and getting a glare from the man. Yes. He said through gritted teeth. As he said that, the bell rung and Issei left the class and proceeded to go to lunch. Under Issei's favorite tree. Woo, that was one long slumber, Albion. Really? I found it quite short. Issei frowned and put his book down, unsure of how he felt now that the two dragons inside his head were back. Boy, what's wrong? Did you not miss us? Well, it was kind of nice not having two other entities talk inside my head for 3 years. Oh, come on. You should be happy. We are like a gang. Me, Albion and you. And like gangs, we will take what is rightfully ours. Fame. Glory. Riches. Women. What was that last one? Damn it, Drake. You did not have to tell him that now that he unlocked both of us, he will become a female magnet. Idiot. I did not tell him that. You did. Issei just stood there. He did not know how he felt now that he knew he would become even more attractive to women. On one side, he was happy. On the other, he was kind of panicking as he did not know what would happen with the amount of girls chasing after him. Just like that girl, Yuma. Man, she was weird. Oh hey, your name is Issei Hyoudou, right? I have been tasked with bringing you to my friend. Hearing a voice talking to him, Issei shook out of his thoughts and disconnected the link with the two dragons and looked up to see a blonde boy smiling at him. Yes. Lead the way, if you will. Issei followed the blonde boy and they stopped after arriving inside a school building. He looked around and saw a white-haired girl eating some snacks. Rias, he is here. I will be leaving now. Very well, Kiba. Thank you. Issei, hearing Rias, got nervous as he heard that the person wanting to speak with him was the same one that stared at him earlier that day. So, you are the new student, Issei Hyoudou. May I ask, where is your brother? He went back with my parents. He said he disliked the place. Really? That's a shame. I was hoping to get to know him. Anyways, I would like to get to know you. Saying that, Rias smiled and just looked at Issei, waiting for his response. Well, what exactly would you like to know about me? Issei said, not really wanting to disclose too much about himself. Just what she needed to know specifically. Well, how about where you are from? There's really nothing on record about you. Everything up until now is blank. Rias said, making Issei become even more nervous. Well, I lived in a village where there was really no communication with the outside world, so I guess that's why I'm not showing up on record. Issei responded, mentally sighing at how he pulled that off. Really? Well then, what about your parents? Surely there is something about them on record. Rias said, to which Issei's expression darkened visibly. I'd prefer not to talk about that. My parents are a touchy subject. Oh. I'm sorry. Rias said with a questioning face that she quickly put away. Well then, is that all? I really must get going. I don't want to be late to class. Issei said, starting to get up. Oh yes, I have one more question, Issei. Do you believe in devils? You know, like in the Bible. Ria said, looking at Issei with hopeful eyes. Well, the answer to that question is yes. Yes, I do. Issei said with a small smile on his face. However, in his mind he was quickly racking up ideas on why Ria's asked that strange and sudden question. Alright then. Thank you for answering my questions, Issei. I hope I see you again. Ria said, turning around and grabbing a book which she proceeded to open. Yes. Goodbye. And with that, Issei left the building and proceeded to his next class. Wow. So do you think he might be a part of the supernatural or something? The little white-haired girl asked, looking at Ria's with a stoic face. Yes, I do, Kaneko. He must be in some way. I just don't know how. Ria's responded, clearly frustrated. Would you like me to keep an eye on him? Yes, that would be a good idea. Now by herself, Ria started thinking. If this boy was somehow connected with the supernatural, would he be able to help her with her problem? At this point, she was desperate in finding a way to get out of her problem. She just hoped she could find a way to get out of this arranged marriage and fast. After school. Walking down the familiar street, Issei finally decided to reinstate the connection with the two heavenly dragons once again, prepared for the worst. Oh, shut the hell up, Albion. You revealed the female thing. I just said women. I could have just said that he would get women flocking to him from his great achievements, but no. You just had to go and open your mouth, didn't you? Insolent fool. You set the foundations for the mistake, so it's your fault. And both of you shut up. It's in the past now. Let's get to the really important stuff. Do you guys think Ria's Gremory is a devil? Absolutely. Yes. Alright then, why do you think that? I want proof, not just empty words. First. She asked if you believed in devils. Who the hell asks that? Second. Her last name is Gremory. Gremory is actually a well-known devil family. And third. We both sensed a slight demonic power signature coming off of her, as well as that blonde boy and little girl. Issei did not really know what to say. All the evidence pointed towards yes, especially the demonic power, but what now? He already had a hunch there were devils at this school, but he did not know how he would deal with them. Would they be friends or foes? He did not know the answer to that question. Not yet, at least. Then, to his horror, he saw her. Yuma Mono. Running towards him. With an angry face that showed that she did not appreciate their last encounter. Issei. How dare you run away from me? I declared my love to you and you run off. Well, it's not like it was real love. I will kill you for shaming me. Yuma said, clearly mad. But that was not what caught Issei off guard. It was her saying she would kill him. But she looked so innocent. Intimidating personality, but innocence still remained. Until he saw her transform. Into a voluptuous woman, flying into the sky with black wings. Who clearly was not innocent. Just intimidating and beautiful in a scary way. Ahahaha. You should see the look on your face. All you humans are the same. Cockroaches in the face of true power. She yelled, forming two yellow spears, one in each hand. My real name is Rainer. I'm sorry for killing you, but if it's any condolence, blame the person who gave you that sacred gear. You could have lived a happy life. But that's not going to happen now. She screamed, sadistic smile on her face. She threw her spears at high speeds, only to be surprised when no target was hit. Issei had gone into the shadows, no evidence of him being anywhere. Where are you? You think you can escape me? I will end you. She yelled at the top of her lungs. That did nothing to Issei. When he was in the shadows, he felt safe. Happy. Not only that, it gave him a boost in speed, stamina and strength. So it was no surprise when he launched himself out of the shadows and stabbed her through the lung with a shadow sword, putting her in great pain and misery. You? How dare? You, Rainer said, coughing out blood everywhere and looking at Issei with great hatred. We could have been friends, Rainer. But you blew it. Now, you die. Issei said, looking at her with great pity. Go to hell. Sorry. I have already been there. Pretty beautiful, actually. Well, goodbye now. Disappearing into the shadows, Issei left Rainer with the shadow sword still inside her, burning her insides and killing her shortly after, leaving a pile of ash. The Kaneko's horror. She had seen everything and was horrified. She could not believe Issei had killed her so fast and swiftly. He was fast and powerful for a human. But he wasn't human. He said he had visited the underworld, which meant he had to be a devil. But the fallen angel said he had a sacred gear. How was that possible? Unless he was part human and in a peerage. But he was so powerful. The only thing she could do for the time being was report this to Rias. Rias was surprised. When she heard what Kaneko saw, she was skeptical at first, but after visiting the site and seeing the ash of the fallen angel, she got all the proof she needed. This was someone she wanted in her peerage. Badly. He was already skilled in combat, which would come in handy when fighting him. Now all that was left was finding a way to convince him of joining her peerage. Issei's home. Checkmate, scrub. Issei yelled as he threw the chessboard up, throwing all the chess pieces into the air and angering Asmodin even more. Shut up. I don't play as well with these, what do you call them again? Asmodin asked, picking up a rook piece and studying it carefully, noticing how they glowed red. Evil pieces. How do you not remember that? Issei asked, snapping his fingers and watching the chessboard and pieces disappear. Besides, I gave you the normal chess pieces, so stop complaining and accept defeat. Issei said, walking out of the front door and going to school, leaving a frustrated Asmodin by himself. Walking down the street, he did not know how he felt about what happened yesterday. He had killed someone. For the very first time. He had not thought much of it then, and he did not think much of it now, but could he have resolved it differently? He did not know. He just believed that he did the right thing in defending himself from that woman. Oh no, why am I such a klutz? Issei heard a small voice speaking and turned to where it came from to see a small girl with a nun outfit on the floor. Oh hello. I didn't see you there. She looked at Issei with a bright smile that also made him smile. My name is Asia Argento. Do you happen to know where the church is? At the mention of the church, Issei's head hurt a bit, but he didn't show it and just kept his smile. Yes. Would you like me to take you there? Issei replied, having seen the church a few times when he was walking around town. That would be wonderful. Please, do show me the way. She said, looking at him and smiling once more. Alright. Just follow me and don't stray off. Abandoned church. Well, here we are. What are you doing here anyway? This church is abandoned, you know. Are you sure this is right church? Issei asked, clearly confused as to why Asia would want to come to an abandoned church. Oh, yes, this is where I have been sent to. Thank you for bringing me here. Asia said, looking at him. Asia. Come here. We have business to attend to. Issei heard a feminine voice coming from the church entrance and saw a blue-haired woman looking at both of them. Yes. Asia ran towards the church door and looked back at Issei to give him a smile before turning once more and entering the church. Upon Asia leaving, the woman's composure darkened. We know what you did to Rainer. Did you really think she was by herself? We are coming after you. We can assure you that. The woman sneered before turning back and entering the church, closing the doors. Frowning, Issei turned and kept walking back to class. After school. Walking out of the classroom, Issei was greeted once again by the blonde boy named Kiba. This time, however, he was not as carefree. He was a lot more cautious and serious about his demeanor, which Issei noticed and decided to follow suit. Arriving inside the occult research club as they called it, Issei noticed Riaz was also on guard, as well as the white-haired girl from before. There was also another girl who looked around the age of Riaz. She just smiled and waved in a seductive manner and just kept looking at Issei, which really put him in a nervous mood as he sat down. Thank you for coming today, Issei. Today, however, I am calling you on a more pressing matter. Riaz said, with an edge in her tone. What do you mean, Riaz? What happened? Issei asked in an innocent manner. Serious? Our little visitor here is all innocent, but he won't be after I'm done with him, the girl said with a lustful look in her eyes, which made Issei retreat farther into his seat. No, Keno. There's something about him that I know isn't normal. Besides, we have enough proof that he is no normal human. Riaz said, looking at Issei and studying him with caution. What do you mean, Riaz? I have done nothing wrong. Issei said, this time with a little edge in his tone. Kaneko. Tell him what you saw. Riaz said, looking at the white-haired girl who up until now was quiet. I saw you kill that fallen angel so quickly, the little girl said, fear evident in both her eyes and words. Everyone now looked at Issei, waiting for his answer. Ahahaha. Guess you all found me out, huh? Well yes, I did kill that woman, but only because she attacked me first. Surely you saw that part as well, right, Kaneko? Issei said with a dark yet carefree tone in his voice. Yes, but you made her suffer. You literally burned her insides while she was still alive. At this, everyone in the room became quiet. They did not know whether to consider each other friends or foes. Alright. Let's just forget about that for now. Let's get to the point. Are you a threat to us, Issei? Riaz asked Issei. Oh no. Of course not. Unless you try to kill me, of course. Then we'd have a big problem. Issei said, whispering the last part and sending shudders down everyone's spines. Well then, now that we have that out of the way, we must tell you something, Issei. We are devils. Right after saying that, Riaz grew bat-like wings out of her back along with everyone else in the room, minus Issei. Cool. I already knew that, however. Issei said. Clearly confused by this, Riaz asked how and Issei responded with a simple I sensed your auras. Okay, I don't know how you did that, but I must ask you something of importance, will you join my peerage? It's boss. Riaz was cut off by Issei, however, when he said yep. I already know everything about how this works, so don't bother explaining. Well then, what is your answer? Riaz asked, with a hopeful look in her eye. Sure. It'd have to be temporary, though. Issei said with a big smile on his face. That's not how it works. Once you become a devil, you can't go back. Ria said, clearly sad now that she thought she would not get Issei in her peerage. Oh, don't worry. I have a way to survive the removal of the evil pieces. Issei said. Wait. You said you went to the underworld. That means you already are a devil, doesn't it? Kaneko asked, clearly confused about the whole situation. Oh no. I simply found a way to sneak in. I'm a human. I can't tell you how I did it, though. Can't go revealing too much, can I? Issei lied. Well then, now that that's over, let's start the transformation, shall we? Please lay down on the floor, Issei. Ria said, now getting her pawn pieces. Pawn pieces? Now that's degrading. Issei miffed. Don't worry, Issei. It's temporary, remember? Ria smiled at Issei, who remembered that was true and became quiet. A magic circle appeared and the ritual commenced. I, Ria's Gremory, resurrect you, Issei Hyoudou, as my pawn. She then put in a pawn piece, but it was quickly rejected, which confused her. Maybe two. She wondered out loud. She then put in 2 pawn pieces, and once again they were rejected. Now getting impatient, she put all 8 inside Issei and was surprised when all 8 mutated and then went into his body. The whole room went silent as they had seen what had just happened. They had never heard of all the pieces mutating. This must have meant that Issei was one hell of a powerful person. Well, it's done. You are now a devil, Issei. Ria said, very happy with her accomplishment yet slightly frightened at the turnout. Alright then. I shall be leaving now. See you all later. Issei slowly walked to the door and when he got close it smiled and waved at them. They just stared and eventually waved back, satisfying him. Street. Taking out a notepad, Issei started writing down another idea of how he would become known to the world. Now that he was a member of one of the Satan sisters, he would surely be able to meet him. Now, he just needed to find a way to make himself look as cool as possible when revealing himself. He smiled though, when he saw a tall middle-aged looking man in a dark trench coat with a fedora on. Wow, dude. That outfit looks badass. Especially that fedora. I will totally get a fedora when I have the time. Issei smiled at the guy and gave him a thumbs up and continued walking until he heard the man talk. Kalwerner told me you were a lot more of a sadist from your encounter with Rainer. The man said, cautiously studying Issei. How dare you? I am no sadist. I just like serving out justice. Issei looked at the man sideways with a fake angry face. Well, it doesn't matter, child. My job is to kill you by any means necessary. Rainer was an ignorant and cocky fool. I will not make the same mistake. With those words, the man grew black wings out of his back and retreated a few feet back, giving him space from Issei. Aw, man. You seemed like a really cool guy. Anyways, what's your name? Issei joked around. It's Donaseek. Not like it matters. He grunted. Alright. Well then, shall we begin? Issei got in a fighting stance. The man starting forming light spears and flapping his wings. Yes. The man said. Let me try something new. Issei thought as he saw a couple of shadows around. Right after thinking that, Donaseek crushed Issei with a blue spear and was about to hit him when he saw dark creatures come out of the shadows, clad in armor and with weapons. No way does this kid have Annihilation Maker, Donaseek wondered as he saw the creatures get in a formation of 3x3 and start marching forward. The back row had archers while the middle row spears and front row shields. He used his spear to try to kill one of the shieldmen, but he was pushed back by all 3 of them. He felt a sharp pain shoot up his arm and realized one of the spearmen had stabbed him. He roared in anger and soared towards them only to feel once more excruciating pain, only this time coming from both his wings. He saw 2 arrows sticking out from both his wings and staggered back in fear, only to feel the worst pain yet in his chest and saw an arrow going through it. He started coughing up blood so it meant he was hit in the lung. He knew now there was no way of him surviving and stared down at the floor in defeat. He looked up and saw the creatures disappear and the boy Issei walking towards him. Donaseek, I don't enjoy killing. Not at all. When I killed that girl Rainer I didn't want to. But I had to. Issei looked sadly at the dying figure before him, who then started laughing. Do you really think you are some kind of hero? No. You are the worst and most disgusting thing I have ever set my eyes upon. The man sneered at Issei with hatred in his eyes. I don't think I'm a hero. In fact, I'm as far from it as possible. You believed I was a human, yes. Oh, how humorous. I am a devil. I was born a devil. Yet I have a sacred gear, so what am I, really? An abomination. A freak of nature. Issei laughed and looked at the man, who was now trying to crawl away. But you know, Issei whispered. Maybe I am the worst thing you have set your eyes upon. Issei motioned his hand towards a shadow, and out of it came a black billowing smoke. It came and rested in the hand of Issei. He put it on the side of the fallen angel's head, and his wounds were instantly restored. However, his eyes become pure black for a second before turning back to their normal color. He then stood up and stared at Issei, awaiting his command. Alright, these powers are all new to me, so you just go back to your friends and act normal. If anything of importance is said, you will come and tell me, okay? Issei ordered the fallen, who simply nodded and flew off. But that done, Issei flew back home and went to sleep. Issei's house. Yawning and sitting up, Issei felt good yet bad about yesterday. He had made 2 new ways to use his powers, but he had also taken the mind of that fallen angel, Donosik. He kind of felt bad, but then again, the guy did try to kill him, so Issei believed his actions to be justifiable. Issei. I can't really explain it to you right now, but I need you to take my virginity. Hearing a familiar voice, Issei felt a weight get on him, pushing him on his back. He looked up and saw Ria's Gremory. Naked. Whoa. What the heck are you doing? Issei asked, clearly unsure of what to do in this situation, but man was he loving the view. Ria's had perfect skin, beautiful hair and gigantic breasts that he just wanted to grab and hold in his hands. Whoa, what the hell am I thinking? Issei recovered his senses and was about to say something when he heard a deep voice in his head. It's called thinking someone is hot, idiot. Drake said to Issei in his head. Shut the hell up. Why do you show up in the most unexpected of times? Issei yelled mentally at the dragon, effectively shutting down the link soon after. Like I said, there's no time to explain. Just put your thing inside mine. That's how it works, right? Riaz asked, clearly embarrassed as her face grew a bright shade of red. She started grinding her crotch against Issei's shorts. A slight bulge grew in Issei's shorts as she continued, but stopped as she looked back, sighed and got off Issei. What are you doing here, Grafia? Riaz asked, obviously angry at the sight of another woman entering the room. Stopping you from doing something you will regret in the future. You wouldn't want to shame your family name by giving your first to a low-class devil, would you? The silver-haired woman looked at Issei with slight distaste, who just waved back with a smile. The woman kept her stoic face as she studied the young man and then turned her attention back to Riaz, awaiting an answer. Do I have that with is my decision, not my brother's or father's. Riaz fumed, snapping her fingers and being fully clothed a second later. That is not up to debate. Besides, he will be coming soon, so you should go back to the meeting area. I shall escort you there. The woman said, making a magic circle and awaiting for Riaz to come with her. Well, Issei, I guess this is goodbye for now. When you reach the school, please come to the occult research club room, okay? Riaz looked sadly at Issei before going to the woman and disappearing with her. Today's going to be an interesting day. Issei said out loud. The occult research club room. Walking inside the room, Issei could feel the sadness emanating from everybody in the room, except for the woman called Grafia, who just kept a stoic face and stared at Issei as he walked in. Issei decided to sit down quietly on one of the sofas and take out his phone to search for some new clothes. Shortly after, a magic circle with a phoenix on it appeared, revealing what looked like a young man with a burgundy blazer and blonde hair. Ah, it's been a long time since Riser has been in the human world. The man said, looking around until he saw Riaz, who he gave an arrogant smile to and walked towards, sitting down next to her, which clearly annoyed her. Riaz. It has been a long time since Riser last saw you. I hope you missed me. He smirked at her and proceeded to put his arm around her, which made her get up and look at him straight in the eye. For the last time, Riser, I will not marry you. Riaz fumed. Oh, but Riaz, you won't want to shame your family, now would you? And you certainly would not want to mock my family. Riser gave yet another arrogant smirk, further pissing Riaz off. Who I marry will be my choice. And it certainly isn't you. Riaz yelled at him, finally making him mad. You will become my wife, Riaz, and it doesn't matter if I have to incinerate every person in this room for that to happen. Riser yelled back, and finally Grafia stepped in. Enough. Both of you. Serziches knew this would happen, so he made sure that to settle this, both of you would have to participate in a rating game against each other, and the victor would decide whether the marriage continued or ended. Grafia said, shutting both of them up. Ahahaha. If this is all of your peerage, Riaz, then you are certain to lose. After saying that, 15 women appeared behind Riser, who from the looks of it, were his peerage members. You see? Riser has a full set. You have no chance of winning, Riaz. Maybe you should just give up. Riser said, laughing with confidence while he said that. He looked around and saw everybody teamed up with Riaz sad. Except one person. Issei. He growled in anger as he saw Issei staring at his phone. Hey. You there. How dare you not pay attention to what Riser is saying? Riser said, making a mad expression which quickly turned to confidence. Everyone remained quiet, including Riaz. But what can you expect from low-class devils like you? Nothing. You have no respect for us high-class devils, even though we are the ones who gave meaning to your life. Riser spat, to whom Issei turned to and smiled in amusement at. Oh, you silly boy. Your social ranking really has made you deluded, hasn't it? People like you disgust me. I don't normally say stuff like this, but I can make exceptions to garbage like you. Issei said with a calm and amused look as he saw Riser turn red in anger. Mira, teach him a lesson in respect. Riser sneered, looking at a blue-haired girl with a staff who nodded and responded with yes Lord Riser. She turned to look at Issei with a confident look before launching herself at him and lifting her staff over her head. As she was about to hit Issei, he materialized a dagger, threw it at her, puncturing her abdomen and going cleanly through her. She fell to the floor, dropping her staff along the way as members of Riser's peerage started to gather around her, worried. What the hell's wrong with you? You might have injured her really bad. A blonde-haired girl said as she reached for a vial containing some sort of liquid which Issei recognized as Phoenix tears. And what would have happened if I let her proceed with her plans? Oh, and don't bother with the Phoenix tears. Issei said to the girl, confusing her and everyone else in the room. The wound won't heal unless I let it. Issei whispered creepily to everyone, shocking them all. And please, let it heal itself. She was just following orders. The blonde girl said once more, desperation in her eyes. You bastard. How dare you hurt my pawn? Riser finally spoke, and his words were not kind at all. Hey. Don't worry. I'll let the wound heal. Issei said, following it with a look of concentration before nodding to the girl to heal her comrade. Once the girl fully healed, she ran to her staff and leaped away from where Issei was, terrified at his power and how easily he had defeated her. Alright, I'm leaving. 10 days, Rias. And don't think I'll forget about this, Riser said before leaving through a magic circle along with his peerage. Well, now that we have this settled, I shall leave as well. You have 10 days to improve as much as possible. Grafia said before looking at Issei and leaving shortly after. 10 days later, yes hahaha. Rias and her peerage had undergone massive training in the last 10 days. Rias had increased the strength of her power of destruction. Kaneko had increased her physical power and even some of her speed. Kiba, already being extremely fast, trained in becoming stronger and more skilled with swords. Finally, Akeno had increased significantly in all areas. Issei decided to help them train and help them, going as hard as possible on them, as they had only 10 days to improve. Raiding game arena. Teleporting into the arena, Rias and her peerage were surprised as they noticed it looked exactly like Kuo Academy. The day was sunny, which made Issei frown. He would not be able to use his powers to their fullest extent. Good evening, everyone. My name is Grafia and I shall watch this game in the name of my king, Surzich's Lucifer. We have the 4 Satans as well as many high-class devils watching this raiding game, so please do your best and good luck to all. A voice on the intercom said, which Issei recognized as Grafia. Ugh, that arrogant bastard. He's giving us as many advantages as possible. Rias said, mad that Riser had given them as many benefits as possible, certain he would win. Alright. The plan is for us to capture the middle point. Rias said, pointing on the map at the gym. This will allow us to gain an advantage in terms of territory. Rias pointed out as well. Kaneko and Kiba. You guys go and secure the gym. Akeno, you stay with me. Issei, you clean up any of Riser's pieces you see. Everybody got that? Rias asked, to which everybody responded with a yes. Everyone except Rias and Akeno started leaving the room, but what surprised everyone was Issei going to a shadow in the room and disappearing, confusing everybody. What sacred gear does he have? Rias asked herself, confused as she had never heard of a sacred gear that could do what Issei just did. Kuo Field. Asmodin, are you there? Issei asked telepathically. Yes Issei. What do you need? Asmodin replied. Come to my location. I need your help. Issei said, to which Asmodin replied with a yes. Looking around, Issei finally saw his family crest on the floor, Asmodin coming out of it, clad in armor with a sword in his hand. Alright, Issei. What is it that you need help with and why are we Kuo Academy? Asmodin asked, looking at his surroundings suspiciously. We are in a raiding game between Riser Phoenix. I am in Ria's Gremory's peerage temporarily. Oh, and you can defend me while I sleep, okay? Issei responded to Asmodin before going under a tree and laying down. Asmodin at first looked confused before nodding in understanding and getting in a fighting stance and surveying the surroundings. 1 hour later, Issei wake up. Issei awoke to someone shaking him and when he opened his eyes he saw Ria's Gremory looking at him frantically. That guy that looked like you said he got bored fighting and left. Rias said, whispering. Fucking Asmodin. Well, fuck him. How many people are left? Issei said, furious at how Asmodin had left him out of boredom. Just like school. Well, other than you and me, everyone else in my peerage is out. Only Riser and his queen remain. As for where we are right now, I had to grab you and bring you into this closet so they wouldn't attack you. I think they're looking for us right now. Rias responded, looking outside the door window, checking for Riser or his queen. Alright then. Let's go find them. Issei said, stretching and getting up. What? No. We have no chance of winning. I'll find him and say we forfeit. Ria said sadly while starting to get up. As she reached for the doorknob, Issei grabbed her shoulder and looked at her straight in the eye. "Do you really doubt me that much? Let me show you my power, Rias. I shall lead us to victory," Issei said, opening the doorknob and running, looking back to beckon Rias to follow him. She smiled and started flying towards him with her devil wings. They looked around for about 10 minutes to find Riser with his queen, making out. "Damn, dude. Unfortunately, we have to break apart your makeout fest and defeat you," Issei said, laughing at Riser as he awkwardly got up. "Don't humor me, pawn. Do you really think you will win? I'll end you now for that," Riser yelled, spawning fiery wings from his back before flying into the air. He looked at his queen, nodded and watched her as she disappeared through a magic circle. He then turned back to Issei and grinned arrogantly. "Time to battle, pawn," Riser said, launching himself at Issei who dodged the incoming attack as well as grinned back at Riser. "Alright man. Well then, as you appear to be pretty powerful, I will use one of my better tactics against you. Shadow spawn," Issei yelled and opened his palms to a near shadow. The result was a legion of armored soldiers with bows crawling out. There were 15 in total, all ready to attack the opponent in front of them. "Oh, crap. Does this kid have Annihilation Maker?" Riser wondered in fear as he saw the bowmen train their weapons on him. He shook the thought off, however. A strong devil like him? What could stand in his way? Nothing. Oh, how wrong he was. The bowmen had only just been created, yet they were probably the best archers in the world right now. But no one knew that. Except Issei, of course. He grinned triumphantly as he watched all 15 release their arrow into the sky at the devil above them. And all 15 hit. All 15 lethal arrows, which allowed no regeneration unless allowed by the owner, hit their intended target, causing him to fall to the floor in great excruciating pain. Rating game booth. Silence followed as all 4 Satans and high-class devils watched the bowman created by the pawn hit their intended target, causing him to fall. The 3 other Satans who were Falbium Asmodeus, Ajuka Beelzebub and Seraphol Leviathan had been invited by Surzich's Lucifer to watch his sister's rating game. Being a sort of Siskin, Surzich's believed that Rias would win, but the other 3 Satans thought otherwise. She had no previous rating game experience, while her opponent had many under his belt, most being wins. The pawn also made things worse. He appeared to be lazy when he summoned someone who looked identical to himself and proceeded to go to sleep. However, they were surprised when the person took down more than half of Riser's peerage before leaving suddenly. But now they saw him in a new light. His creations had managed to take down Riser in less than a minute, getting a laugh out of everyone in the room and infuriating Riser's father. If his creations were so powerful, they could only imagine his own power. Rating game arena. Issei yelled at the soldiers that they did a good job and that they could leave now. Nodding, they all disappeared back into the shadows. Rias just stared wide-eyed. Issei then proceeded to walk over to Riser, planning on finishing the job. He found him, bleeding on the floor, in a lot of pain. "Wow. Not so tough now, huh?" Issei chuckled as he started to make a spear in his hands. "Fool. Do you know what this marriage means to our society? We must keep making pureblood devils, and this marriage will help with that." Riser croaked, angry and ashamed at how easily he had been defeated. "Liar. You just want Rias as another girl to add to your collection," Issei said quietly, disgust in his voice. "Heh. That might be true, but it will happen, whether you like it or not." Riser nodded to someone behind Issei and then looked back at him and smirking. Confused, Issei turned around to hear Rias scream "watch out" and get blasted into a wall by Riser's queen. "Hahaha. Good job, you Balloona. Just let me fight." Riser could not finish his sentence as he felt a great power surge bring him to his knees. He looked around and saw that the same thing was happening to Rias and Ubeluna. He finally turned with great effort to look at the pawn. But he looked different. A lot different. There was a sort of black mist surrounding him and his eyes were pure black. And then he saw the wings. Great, majestic 15-foot wings. They were black and were surrounded in the black mist as well. As Issei approached Ubeluna, the arena started to become dark. As this happened, more and more of the mist started gathering around Issei, almost fully covering Issei. She finally got up and tried to fly away, but Issei rose into the air with wings so fast that when he caught up to her, he smashed into her, sending her flying into the floor below. He slowly descended and finally spoke. "If there is one thing I hate more than cowards, it's cowards who attack while your back is turned." He spoke in a deep commanding voice that just made the queen shudder in fear and try to crawl away from him. But it was all in vain as Issei quickly caught up to her and grabbed her by the back of her hair, pulling her up and making her scream in pain. "Don't worry, it will all be over soon. I just have to stab you through the lung so they send you to the infirmary," Issei said to her before throwing her back on the floor and stabbing her through her chest with a dagger. He heard Issei Riser's queen retired. In a fearful voice, which made him chuckle before going back to Riser. "Well then, back to you. I have something special for you, little bird." Issei looked at Riser, who backed away from him. No. Get the hell away from me. You monster. Riser screamed at Issei, who simply chuckled and started gathering a dark matter in his hand. Who the hell are you? Riser asked, to which Issei smiled and gleefully answered. So you want to know who I am? Well then, I'll tell you. My name is Issei Hyoudou. Last member of the Hyoudou devil family. Issei finally answered the question on everybody's mind before sending the black matter into Riser's chest, knocking him out and winning the rating game for Rias. End. So how was this story? I hope you like it. And if you like it, share this story with your friends and like the video too. And don't forget to subscribe our channel for daily awesome fanfiction. Okay, it's time for me to go. Bye bye.